If you spent any time following through the videos here on the channel, you may have guessed that I'm a horror movie slappy. While there's a lot of crap in this genre, I'm willing to brave that torment for the simple fact that a bad horror movie trumps a sappy ass rom-com any day of the week. Now, on the surface, picking a favorite from hundreds of films across multiple decades may seem like a tall task, but for me, it's a piece of cake. It's easily Freddy versus Jason. You got the two biggest icons from the two biggest franchises. It's Hogan versus Flair, clashing like titans in an epic bloodbath. Got a late start compared to its predecessors, but I'm reaching a point where I will have watched this movie more than any other film in life. To my understanding, Freddy vs. Jason was a hit at the box office, so do you think a sequel would have been evident? Unfortunately, the stars just did not align. However, that did not stop me from checking every now and then just to see if anything had changed on the production front. Well, during one of those checks, I ran across a mind-boggling discovery. A Freddy vs. Jason sequel. Yes. Turns out it's just a novel though, written by some no-name jabroni who's not associated with either IP owner. I'll talk about that later. For now, let's dive into this breakdown. The year is 2005. Freddy's dead. His demise authored by the unlikely team of Jason, Laurie, and Will, the sole survivors from the previous film. But of course, this dude is eternal. You can't kill him. So he's in hell, chilling, searching for a way to return to the surface world and wreak havoc. He needs a vessel though, and once again, Jason unknowingly plays an integral role in his resurrection. He eventually finds said vessel, and the method he uses to compromise his victim is incredibly imaginative and graphic. I could see it playing out quite vividly. So Freddy's back, and he's hell-bent on claiming vengeance by any means. Meanwhile, Laurie and Will, particularly Laurie, are trying their best to cope in the aftermath. Life is relatively calm until the nightmares start up again, followed by a series of brutal murders. This time, the killing has spread beyond Elm Street, suggesting that it might not be Freddy after all. Desperate for guidance, Laurie reaches out to her therapist, Dr. Loomis. Sound familiar? Well, it should. He's the son of none other than Dr. Samuel Loomis from the Halloween franchise. Freddy has a master plan, and it involves playing the two biggest serial killers, outside of himself of course, against one another while he expands his reach and makes spiteful nightmares a reality for any unlucky soul in his path. Now I must say, the author, Walter Randall Bannister, has massive balls. Huge. He took what legally should have been nothing more than an ambitious piece of fan fiction and turned it into a full-length novel. I actually bought the shit, so that's evidence right there. How he got away with selling it on Amazon is a mystery to me. After all, this is an indie project, so it hasn't been greenlit by the IP owners of A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, or any of the other characters included in the story. Yes, there are other familiar characters in this here book. I found all this incredibly fascinating because back in the early 2000s, me and my homeboy Jimmy wrote a prequel screenplay called Elm Street. Basically profiles the life of Freddy from the time his mother was raped, his childhood, and all the way through the infamous trial and torturing by Springwood residents. Tried to shop it around, talked to a few entertainment lawyers, and they basically said that unless you sell it directly to New Line Cinema Wes Craven, or another party connected with the franchise, the chances of having it produced were slim to none. Needless to say, I was devastated to the point where I haven't written another screenplay since. So I'm guessing that as long as you stay under the radar with this kind of shit, the IP owners won't fuck with you for the simple fact they don't even know a book like this exists. It's crazy. So, likely copyright infringement of the highest order aside, I must say this book was awesome. 5 out of 5 razor sharp blades. We know the Elm Street and Friday movies have featured their fair share of R-rated material, boobage and whatnot. The author captured that essence and then some. In fact, you could call this book erotic horror because the sex scenes are graphic and plentiful. It's well written for the most part and compelling from beginning to end. I would have been fine with a simple rematch between Freddy and Jason, but the inclusion of other horror icons was a surprisingly nice touch. I'm telling you, this dude got sacked. If you're a fan of horror books or these characters in particular, I highly recommend checking out this bold novelization. Peace.